It's on.
Already on?
Yeah, it's on.
I thought I saw that, but I wasn't sure. Okay,
No light.
we're good. Okay.
Light's not on, Ted. There you go.
There it goes.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Newton Planning Board meeting, holding a public meeting on Tuesday, August 11th, 2026, beginning at 7 p.m. And let's start with saluting the flag, please. All right. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Should start out with before we start, Mr. Gibbons will be sitting on the board tonight. Dan is not here, so he's going to be taking his place. All right. And you can go for it.
So we have a couple of public hearings tonight that we will get to in a few minutes, but we had 2 applications submitted a few weeks ago that I only received copies of yesterday, so I wasn't aware of them until yesterday. And one is for a subdivision at 11 Merrimack Road. It got a variance earlier this year, and another is for an amended site plan at 13 Elm. Both applications were, while applied for on time, had issues at the time that they were applied for that I wasn't able to catch because I didn't receive them until yesterday. And there are things that make it so that they are very much incomplete and really not able to be heard tonight. I think that in one case it's a fairly simple remedy, the other might be a little bit more substantive. But in both cases, the public hearing notification that would have gone with them had the wrong date on it. So because of that error, we also would not be able to hear them tonight. That's why you don't see them on the agenda. My hope is to be able to provide both applicants a bulleted point list of these are things that you will need to do to have a complete application. There are things like signatures and a form needing to be filled out. So in some cases, it's very simple things. Some things that could be potentially more. Until I have time to look at it, I don't want to list things off. But in either case, they can't be heard tonight until they are properly noticed with the correct date. So my suggestion for the board is that because they were erroneously noticed with the public hearing, that if I'm able to do that review tomorrow morning, which I think I have sufficient time to do, that we go ahead and notice for the meeting in 2 weeks. But because the applicants have already paid for the first notice, my recommendation is actually that the planning board cover this re-noticing, because that's really not the fault of the applicants.
Right,
So
agree with that.
I would suggest that you at least do a consensus that yes, as a board, you're willing to pay for that, and that's how we move forward with those 2 applications.
So that's for both of them, Jen?
I would do it for both. I think they have different issues, but they were both noticed erroneously. So because of that, fundamentally, they can't be heard tonight.
Okay.
And it would be enough time to get it for the next meeting?
If we can do it basically tomorrow or Thursday, yes, it would have that 10 days.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, obviously, we agreed to do
So
that.
I'll make a motion because due to the fact that it was the town's error, that the planning board pay for the re-notification of both the applicants
I'll second that motion.
for the abutted notices.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're all set.
All right, so just for the public, anybody that got a notice for a application at 13 Elm Street or 11 Merrimack, those will be heard in 2 weeks at the same place. Okay? All right.
So no new abutter notice coming out, just come back on the 25th?
No, you will get new abutter notifications with the correct date, but it will be 2 weeks from today.
Okay, so the 25th we'll get a new letter. Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
And that's the same thing for 13
Correct, yes,
in 2 weeks?
in 2 weeks.
Perfect.
All right.
Okay,
So with that, I think we can actually go into our other business of old cases and some new that we have, so.
So that takes care,
Unless there are questions.
Right.
And I'll be in touch with the applicants as quickly as I can tomorrow.
okay. Do you have any questions for, no? So let's move on to the 125
I actually
development.
don't have a card on me. I do have your contact information though. So, actually, if you want, you can write down your name and email, just like double check.
You all set?
I am.
Okay. Let's move on to the 125 Development Corporation, the 120 Industrial Way in Newton. They've applied for a compliance hearing, map 14, block 1, lot 27-3. And it
Just
looks
in
like
case
this is
or not.
continued from the 14th and the 28th of July.
Yeah.
The compliance hearing? I guess it doesn't matter.
The application.
The application is,
Says it's
Okay,
continued.
so we were here, and Tommy, correct me if I'm wrong, because we were here last meeting, and the board agreed that we could, the town would issue a certificate of occupancy for the furniture warehouse, which is part of this project, but asked us to request this compliance hearing because one of the conditions of approval is that we get the written permission of the gas pipeline owners whose pipelines we will be crossing, not as part of Phase 2, not as part of the building that we have an occupancy permit for, but as part of Phases 3 and 4. And we had some discussion last month about that. We did last month submit to you, I believe, and I have another copy here if it didn't make it to the file, a copy of the consent that we have from Enbridge, which is the successor to Mass Maritime. There's two pipelines here. The condition of approval requires the consent of both of the pipeline easement holders. We have it from Enbridge, which is Mass Maritime, which is far and away the larger of the two pipelines. As the board is aware, we're in a little bit of a tiff with Unitil, which is the smaller pipeline, rather than give us consent on the usual conditions of notice and staking things out and making sure they're aware of construction activities. They want us to replace a piece of their pipeline, which really goes above and beyond what should be required for consent. We were dealing with, I'm trying to think of the government agency that does this, Tommy, what is it?
So it's TSA, actually.
Yeah, it's a division of TSA that, I can't think of the acronym now. It's a federal agency that manages pipelines. And they had told us that we should be dealing with Enbridge because they are the primary pipeline here. So we've gotten their consent. We've submitted it to the board. I guess we have two potential compliance requests for the board's consideration. The touchdown request would be for the board to amend the condition and provide that the consent from Enbridge is sufficient for us to meet the condition on the plan. When we get to the point of crossing the pipeline, we are obviously going to have to work with Enbridge, who's going to do all the usual things as required in this loan agreement to make sure that they are aware and that we construct the project in a way that does not damage the pipelines. I guess the field goal level request would be for the board to agree that the condition of having consents from both pipeline easement holders can at least be waived as to Phase 2, since we are not crossing the pipeline easements for Phase 2, and Phase 2 is a standalone phase, and leave that requirement in place for Phases 3 and 4, so that at least as it would stand now, we would need to provide consents from both easement holders before we could cross the pipeline and begin work in Phases 3 or 4. Obviously, if we are still unable to get Unitils, we'd still have the right to request at that point a modification or a waiver of that requirement. So that's pretty much what's before the board. I think you've had that Enbridge information last month. I'm happy to share it again if you want to see it again. But I think what we're looking to do is to make the occupancy permit, which you agreed last meeting could be issued subject to us doing this. We want to check the subject to box so that occupancy permit is not contingent, and we can go forward with occupying that building.
So my one suggestion with any compliance hearing on this, if you want to change that condition, is that there is the state law that says that any proposed activity within 1,000 feet of the pipeline they're required to notify the gas line, and in this case it would be both. I would include that clause for RSA 674-75. Obviously, phase 2, the lot we're talking about, is significantly bigger than 1,000 feet south of the pipeline. But that would be the one.
So phase 2 doesn't affect it?
Phase 2 does cross the pipeline. There is roadway that, as part of the phase 2 approval, does cross the pipeline. There is no building being proposed as part of phase 2's approval. That was approved as part of that. So there's no building development, but there is a road that was approved as part of that.
So liability-wise, if to waive anything like that, which is the going over the gas line or whatever, God forbid if something happens,
That's why I'm just recommending we at least reference the state law.
we
and
can't
that-
leave ourselves open for,
It's not really the town leaving themselves open, but for compliance with state law. That's the only reason I'm recommending we at least put in that component. They're still honestly, they're still able to do a lot on the phase 2 site short of that 1,000 feet.
yep.
The 1,000 feet really sort of hits where the propane business that got a conditional approval at the last meeting is. So, I mean, it's a fair bit of land that is outside of that 1,000 feet.
We're good with that, Tom?
Tom Leckborg, builder for developer 125 development. So the reason we're asking for the waiver, we're building, the current buildings that are there in the phase 2. We have no intention of crossing the gas line. I know the Delvaney property will be within 1,000 feet. The gas line, both are aware that we're under construction in phase 2. Dig safe flags everything. Everything is dig safed out. Mass Maritime and Granite State are there weekly. They see what we're doing at all times. They understand our operation and what we're doing. So we had discussion quickly with them after this with Matt Boomer and from Mass Maritime, well, Enbridge now, and they have no issue with it as long as we don't cross. Until we do the cross construction, which is just basically you go over the line and get a hammerhead in. That's all it is for the fire department. But since we're not out in that direction yet, we're still going to be down in the cul-de-sac. There's really no need of that. And the light discussion I had with Fire Chief John over that, he had no issue with it either until we get to the next phase. He said, I don't really need it. There's so many turnaround points in there. Because we're under construction, you literally got, everything's flat. And so he didn't have an issue with that at that point. So last week we were talking, last time we were here and we talked about this, the reason I'm asking for the waiver is I want to continue phase 2 construction, but till I get to there, I want to try to work out before I go to 3 and 4, which I'll be in front of the planning board again to deal with 3, and by that time I'll have it done. So it's just going to take some more time. It's the same situation we have our DOT. It's the same thing. We're working, everybody's working with us, but it just takes a long time to do these things. Granite State, decided not to work with us, so we went a different route because we just could not come to any kind of agreement at all, other than, hey, you guys fix our gas pipe because it's built in 1966, and we were like, why were you replacing your gas line? So that's kind of the argument, right?
Let me ask you a question. When, how soon was construction going to start on the Devaney
So
site?
that I don't know yet. It's not written in stone yet. We just got so they're within 1,000 feet. you know.
So that's what I'm saying. So if we put that in, like Jen's suggestion that we should,
So what I'm asking for is the 4 buildings,
right,
right, that we have an agreement with already. I'm just trying to stay to those right now.
right.
When I come to Levaney, I'm next to it. I think there's a whole bunch of other rules by the time we get done with it. I mean, it's allowed use, but I need to get this all squashed by then.
Right.
Like that. So it's not like we're gonna put it on the shelf and leave it be. It's just I don't wanna hold back. I think we're gonna have a favorable answer from DOT this week, from all the discussions we were having. And I just don't wanna hold up any more construction in phase 2, just to this fact.
I got no problem with the construction of phase 2, but like the point that I'm saying is that we give you that
Right.
before you do Devaney's construction, that's going to have to be addressed.
Correct.
Even though you're not going over the line because you're gonna be within that 1,000 feet.
And that's basically what Enbridge has told us already, that we need to get, you know, a program together with the 2 of them, so, which
Okay.
we will, which will take a little time, but I don't see it any being, I know the towns, some of the neighbors are not happy about that, but I mean, it's like, I think we can prove that they should be okay by the time, we're gonna get Enbridge in here in front of you again, they've been here before. Larry that was here last time, he's retired, so we have a new guy coming down from Maine that's gonna, it'll probably be in a few, let's get us worked out with them first, try to get Granite State back to the table, and see if they can sit down and be gentlemen for a little bit, and not storm out of the meeting, because we're not putting the pipe in. Listen, they just replaced last winter a good section behind building 6, so why didn't you continue is what our argument is. Well, you were in there anyway, you know, so fix it. Since we have been having this argument with them, the feds have made them fix pump stations, all kinds of stuff, because they had this send the bullet through and look at everything. And so we're not done yet, so we need to finish up what we're working at and then get it done. But it takes time. It's, for lack of a better thing, it's government. That's all I can tell you. You know, I'm lucky to get a phone call back in a week, you know, when I ask for what's going on. So, I'm just asking for this to happen, but I'm still locked to the 105,000 square feet. That's not resolved anywhere, so I'm not going anywhere yet, but I'm trying to get this dealt with now, so if everything's good by Friday, we come back in a week and then we lift the cap, if everything goes well. If that makes sense to everybody, you know?
Yeah,
Jen?
I'm just recommending that we include the clause that they need to notify the gas pipeline easement per state law. That's really my recommendation.
Plain and simple, right.
That's fine with us, obviously.
Yeah.
Do you want me to read what my suggested language would be?
Absolutely.
To amend the condition, but the applicant shall notify the natural gas transmission pipeline operator of all proposed activity within 1,000 feet per the pipeline per the requirements of RSA 674-75, which has a little bit more detail to it, but
Add that to it.
and I will make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, folks.
So that completes
that would complete the
Number-
compliance hearing.
Number 1, yeah.
number 1.
Yep.
So the second one, number 2, again, from 125 Development Corp. We are looking at, they applied for a condominium conversion, map 14, block 1, lots 27-3. Sir.
Good evening again, Roy Tilsley for 125 Development. Okay, so we are here on condo conversion for Block 1, Lot 27-3, which, Tommy, is Phase 2 again, all right. We were here 4 weeks ago, and you folks approved the condominium conversion for Phase 4. You have, I think, we did submit the site plan for this, showing the proposed condominium. This is a standard, the last condominium was a land unit condominium, so the units were essentially the land. Here, this is a standard condominium where all the land is owned commonly, and then each building is a unit. So right now, it would be 4 units with the 4 buildings that are approved. The buildings cannot be subdivided, partially rented. Part of the condominium declaration is that the buildings have to be used as a whole. So again, a sort of standard condominium. The declaration provides that each building has to be used as a whole, can't be subdivided. It should have no effect on the site plan approval in terms of any septic issues. Each building has its own septic system, as shown on the original plans approved by you folks. No impact on any kind of drinking water well situation. As you know, any user is going to have to come back here to get a change of occupancy permit. So in terms of meeting the parking requirements under the zoning ordinance, that will be addressed on a user-by-user basis, depending on the type of user and what parking requirements exist for each type. So obviously, this board's not going to approve a user if there's not sufficient parking. Well, we're confident we have sufficient parking on site. If we end up with some unique combination of users such that parking's not sufficient, we'll have to provide additional parking in order to get the necessary approvals. I don't see any adverse effect on surrounding properties. It really shouldn't change how this phase operates or impacts the neighborhood. I'm happy to take any questions. It's a pretty straightforward request, I think. Jen?
So the one oddity with this application is that the subdivision plan was actually already recorded at the registry, which normally would be a condition of approval. So my suggestion for the only additional conditions that you do have to have a public hearing on this application, is that the town council review the condo docs for just consistency with town impacts. That's a standard condition you've always had with condominium conversions, and that the tax assessor get a copy of said plan.
Okay.
Again, you do have to open it up for public comment, though.
Right. Let me do that right now.
Yep.
Open it up to, go ahead, yep, you just state your name and your address, please.
You can just say, "Hi, I'm a regular."
Yeah, you guys should know me by now. Yeah, Ann Barden, 10 Howard Lane. I just have a question about that, I understand how condo conversion works with, with these industrial buildings and everything. It's not like a typical condominium residential. I just don't understand the process. Does every condo conversion have to be publicly noticed for like abutters, or is
Yes. Condo conversion is effectively a form of subdivision under Newton's subdivision regulations. It's not creating changes on the land, it is just divvying up how the land can be purchased or sold.
Right.
But yes, it does have to be notified, hence why they are here for a hearing. It's a little unusual that it was recorded ahead of time.
Well, yeah, which I think is kind of my question, because way back in July, when this was first was first on the agenda, I came over here just to kind of get, because I didn't understand what the condo conversion process was, and there was some confusion about the plans, and there was a sheet that had already been registered and signed back in October. Is that the one that we're talking about?
Yes, so the plan that they have up there does correspond with what has already been recorded. It was effectively erroneously signed by the former planning board chair, I think because he simply didn't totally understand what he was signing at the time, and I think due to staffing issues in the town, that's sort of how that transpired.
Okay.
So this is sort of a retroactive correction of that.
Okay. Yeah, because I looked to see, and I hadn't seen any public notice back at that time, so I wasn't sure if, yeah. I just want to make sure that these things are going through the process the way they're supposed to go through the process, not,
Jen, how do we correct that?
Honestly, them being here tonight is how we correct this.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have happened, to be honest, but it did, and this is how we end up correcting it. They weren't going to be able to, for example, the Devaney, the propane application that came through. That's why the condominium conversion was a condition of that approval, because that created a land unit area, a condo, that didn't actually exist yet. So that's why we had to condition that approval on this actually going through. Which I don't see any reason not, I mean, you should still have town council go and review the condo docs, but beyond that, I don't see any reason why it shouldn't be able to go through.
Does the plan have to get re-recorded now then?
I don't really know how that would accomplish a whole lot, to be honest.
Okay.
But I am recommending it go to your tax assessor just as one final check to make sure they are aware of it, because at least as of the last time I looked, it is not part of the assessor's database. And we just want to make sure, obviously, that all property is being assessed and taxed appropriately. That's sort of the final part of this.
So it might not have to be what she re-signed and,
Correct. I don't think that a new Mylar is necessary. It's already been recorded.
yep.
So what actually happened was the board was in the middle of administrative transition.
Sure.
And then what took place is because we didn't have people that knew what should have taken place, it fell through the loophole, and so proper procedure is normally it comes in, Jen would look at it, and then Jen would say, yeah, everything that the board has discussed and approved, this is what it is, and then she would notify the chairman, and then the chairman would go ahead and sign it. Unfortunately, that did not take place that one time.
Right, oh, I get that. So will there be more condo conversions as this project goes through? Like, are there, I mean, because is there like one conversion per phase?
I mean,
Or could
could there be? Yes. Is there any proposed at this point that I've seen? No.
Yeah, I'm just,
But if there were to be more, they would need to be notified and have the public hearing process. I will say that knowing where your property is and the other lots, it is possible that eventually you would not be part of that needed notification though, so.
okay, all right, thank you.
Thanks, Ann.
Just one other thing, that this condo doesn't have any impact on the conditions of the site plan that are sort of underneath this.
It does not?
Not on those site plan conditions, no.
Okay.
You got a hand up on the
Mr. Alberti has a comment.
Okay, can he,
He's online, he's trying to get him.
I'll have to unmute.
Good evening, can you hear me?
there we go.
Yes. Yo, Tom.
I apologize for not being able to attend in person. I have two questions. First is regarding the compliance hearing. Was public comment allowed on that compliance hearing?
We may have actually overlooked the public comment on the compliance hearing. You could retroactively open it up if you wanted to.
Sure.
But I would suggest we finish
Let's finish
this
this one first.
first.
Yep.
Yeah, I put the request in, but I know it's tough when you have to look at the computer screen. So I did want to point out that the landowner has neither any excavation permit nor a site plan for a business approval to process concrete, aggregate, and other materials for resale. Since there is neither an excavation permit nor an approved site plan to run that business, the applicant's only recourse to utilize the land across from the pipeline and do those types of activities would involve for construction on site. So in theory, they could process materials on the other side of the pipeline and bring it over to be utilized in construction of phase 2. We do hear plenty of activity on the site to the other side of the gas pipeline, so I can only assume that is being utilized for construction in phase 2. So there is in effect crossings, and there's been thousands of crossings over that pipeline with really extensively heavy loads over the course of time. So I think it's important, and I really want to make this case before the compliance hearing was approved, that the pipeline's input is very important because of the potential dangers that can unfold from a damaged pipeline. So I think it's vitally important, and I did want to make that point before they received the conditional approval. So I want to state that, at least put that on public record, and I want the board to understand that there is activity on the other side of the pipeline, and the only thing they would technically be approved to do legally is use that on site for current construction. But my second point is regarding the condo conversion. Is this for the existing Devaney Energy building?
Not explicitly. It does involve part of the parcel that the Devaney Energy did seek a site plan approval for at the last meeting.
Okay. And the reason I bring that up is, we talked extensively about hours of operation, and so if you're going to convert a building, I understand that you may not have actual businesses that are going to be going into the building, so that's sort of the unknown. Once you create a conversion, you're going to get future lessees for those sites. With that in mind, I would ask the board to condition the sort of standard site plan hours of operation that apply, which is Monday through Friday, 7 to 6, and Saturday, 12 to 8, and Sunday, no activity, so that sort of applies to any business that may move into those condos in the future.
I will say that the site plan that's underneath this condo conversion does have a requirement that any new tenant or business coming in does require a change of use, so that does require the board's review, of which hours of operation are certainly a part of that discussion.
So that would be the time that would get taken care of, right?
That would be my suggestion rather than putting it with the condo, but
Yeah.
Case by case basis, right?
Yeah, depending on what type of business it is.
and those change of uses do require a public notice.
Okay. To his,
Board, can I answer all that?
as far as the question with the compliance hearing? I just want to make sure we do this right, so we need to, right now, we're still talking about the condominium conversion, right?
Correct.
So we can answer that part.
Okay, so let's do that first.
Sure.
I'll come back and answer, because we can't just be doing what he's doing. Okay?
Yeah, we'll have to open that back up again.
You had himself already.
So on the condo conversion, obviously, as Jen pointed out, anyone who, whether they rent a unit, rent a building, or buy a building, before they use it, they're going to have to come here with a change of use permit, tell you what they're doing, tell you how many employees they have, and go through that hours of operation, which you folks typically are pretty careful to ask questions about. So I think that's probably more appropriate. That's what was designed in the site plan, was to be user-specific rather than have a one-size-fits-all.
Okay?
Yep.
So unless there's other public comments.
Anyone else? Okay?
I think that if you're ready for a motion on this one, and then we can come back to the reopening the.
Right, which is what we should do, right? So, we need a motion, right?
So we need a motion to approve the condominium conversion with, do we want to read the,
My two suggestions were that review with town legal counsel,
yep,
and that a copy of all documents be provided to the town assessor once finalized.
That makes sense.
Oh, they're finalized. As you know, they're on record.
yep. Need a second?
Second? Anybody?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So the motion
Aye.
passes.
Thank you, folks.
For the compliance hearing, I think procedurally the easiest thing to do would be to rescind the vote and then to open it back up, and then we can vote again.
Okay.
So you need a motion to rescind
Make
the
a
vote.
motion
with
to
second.
rescind the vote.
I'll second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody, so
All right, and then I would say you should reopen as the chair the compliance hearing for the public comment portion.
So we are reopening the compliance hearing for the 125 Corporation on 120 Industrial Way, map 14, block 1, lot 27-3.
That was to deal with the pipeline easement condition only.
Right.
Mr. Alberti has comments again.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you want me to sort of repeat and recap what I had stated earlier so that it's officially on the record as part of public comment, I'm happy to do so. If the information I put out there and sort of highlighted previously is acceptable, then I'll just await response.
But you should.
Yeah, maybe just in summary if that's easier.
Sure. Yeah, so just in sum, my understanding is that the landowner has neither an excavation permit nor an approved site plan for the resale of aggregate materials, rocks, and so on. So the only legal allowed use would then indicate that it is for processing on-site construction, and because of the continued activity with that, I can only assume that trucks that are over to the other side of the pipeline are processing material to bring over for this phase 2 site for construction, and that while they stated they are not crossing the pipeline, there is crossing, because that can be the only logical assumption with the lack of an excavation permit or site plan for business resale of rocks and aggregate.
Okay.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Tom.
So you're all well aware that we have an AOT for phase 5, 4, and 3. You've all seen it. Our crusher has an open air permit with the state. Where we put it, we can use it. We can recycle our materials to put wherever we want that we bring in, that we're crushing and using. We have to send some product out because we can't use all of it. We send all the rebar out, it goes all gets recycled. So what I'm trying to say, the road that goes over the gas line, no one has an issue from either company us crossing it. It's been there since 1958, I think it is. It is substantially taller than it's gonna be when it's completed. All our equipment that we cross with has already gone out to everybody approved 4 years ago that we have low impact equipment that's going across it. We're not using anything that is beyond the spec on the pipe. We cross it at the other cross. We have 2 crossings, correct? The other crossing, we cross just the same way. We have for years. We've been crossing this crossing right here since 2006. Nothing has changed from that date. We've done it all the same. But we don't need an excavation permit because we have an AOT. So I think that, you should all take 2 minutes. I know some of you are aware of what our permits are because we've been in front of the board with all of them, but we are going to give you all the permits one more time again so you can refresh your memory because it's been such a long time since a lot of it was received. But the AOT for 5, 4, and 3 are fairly recent, so that everybody should know what that is, but that lets us do excavation that we're doing. So New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services came out this week again to do their inspections. We're under SWIP control by the state. We have engineers watching us every week. Every rainstorm they come out, we do all those applications. If you would like to take a look at them, we're more than happy to share all that with you. But this is something we share with the state to continue to hold our AOTs. So if we're doing something wrong, we'll lose our AOT. You'll be the first one to know. And they check, like they're out all the time. I don't understand like where all this is coming from. It's in my opinion, slander. They're basically digging on stuff that's completely incorrect. But they like to do that. We've done it in front of the selectmen. They keep doing it. So I'm just saying, we're gonna keep providing them for the board so the board can see what we have and what we don't have. Pretty simple. You guys work with us to get to there, and that's where we're at. And there's never been an issue with us crossing the pipeline with construction equipment. That was agreed upon. I think we had 5 approvals for that already, as we went through all that over the years, how that was done. And it doesn't expire as long as we hold building permits, which we do. So I don't, and the AOTs, like I said, they're all in effect. Phase 2 is in effect, phase 5, 4, and 3. So, you know, this is about excavation permits. Like, we're not building a house, people. We're building giant buildings. Please drive down and look. You know, it's not a house subdivision. There's major activity going on. Yes, there's a big equipment, very big. It's a big site. We're moving hundreds of thousands of yards weekly, and that's what it takes to do this. And the reason we're moving this quantum of materials is because we're meeting the new storm water management. All the roads are elevated. All the giant ponds we have, they're all a lot of construction. Some ponds take, you know, north of 300,000 yards to create the biomass in the bottom of them. And so how are we supposed to do that? You know what I mean? Without doing all the work we're doing. I know it's terrible for right now for the residents that are on Howard Lane. They're the closest. But as we move out of this section, probably sometime next year, we'll be into the next section. And it's just going to be the same thing again till we're done. But let us build. Let's get out of here. We'll stop making noise and let the people do the things. So once we're gone, there's no complaints from Sergeant Woods on phase 1 anymore because there's no construction. It's quiet. People are respectful of the neighbors, and you guys set the rules. And you know, all the different businesses are there. Yeah, we have one bad guy that got away with some stuff that we're not happy about, but you know, that's from a long time. He's got a long time lease, so soon, you know, the dino will be gone, I hope. But what I'm saying is that everybody else has been really, really good. And if we got a bad tenant, we work on to moving it or changing their way of doing stuff. But you guys set the rules, and that's what we work with. That's why we're here. You know, and I have no problem setting the times, what Tom wants. I'm fine with that. You know, I'm okay to set those times. Unless there's a company comes in like Munters, they'll ask for something different. You know, it's all indoors what they're doing. So, but I get the trunking, and I understand it, and I hear it loud and clear. All right? All right.
Tom, when you guys started back in '06 or whatever it was, did you come up with a plan? Did you submit a plan to the gas companies on how you're going to protect them when you truck over it? So all that, the town has all that.
Right. Yeah, so we Puzzle Lane has a big crossing, right? And, you know, it's the exact same pipes, nothing's different. And there we're building, we have buildings probably within 75 feet of the gas line there. 2 of them, 3 of them, 4 of them.
Yeah. So you,
of them, I'm thinking about it, yeah. I mean, that whole...
What he was just talking about as far as protection with those gas lines.
So listen, there's sensors on the ground, right? If I take a bucket and an excavator and I slam the ground about 100 feet away from a gas line, it takes about 8-10 minutes. There's an airplane that comes right up the gas line. You guys can probably see it. It's blue with yellow stripes. And I get a phone call. You know, they have my number. You know, what are you doing? You know, every once in a while, yeah, because we were crushing quite a bit fairly close. So, you know, because that's where we had the inventory of what we were doing. So the Delaney lot was a big crushing operation, but it's gone. It's clean, and we're cleaning it. We just got some rebar left that's got to go out, but we kind of watch the market. I mean, we're a business. We're not here to practice. We're here to make some money, right? Right. So there's a lot of rebar on site. So we ship it when the numbers. We got tariff issues, guys. I don't know what else to tell you, but anyway. So it's a big, big job. It's a lot of stuff going on. On an average day, there's probably 200 people on the job. It employs, I would say, I think the last time we looked there, we were 68% are either in this town or in Kingston. We get a few from Merrimack too, but in town, we've got a lot of people. That we employ a lot of people, and it's good for the community.
Help me out here, because I wasn't around as far as all the permits that they have and stuff, the copies that we have here. Do we know, is that?
I mean, they definitely do have an AOT permit. I've seen
Right.
that. Part of this board's approval is they have all of their federal, state, and local permits. That's just a consistent condition.
They wouldn't be working without it.
What you have jurisdiction over is site plan application. If there's something else going on, I'm not saying there is, I'm not saying there isn't. That's not your jurisdiction.
Gotcha.
That's a
Yep.
code enforcement, sometimes a state level, kind of depending.
Yep.
That is not under your purview. I understand what Ms. Alberti's getting at, I'm not saying it's true, I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying that it's not under your jurisdiction.
Right.
So that's why we have that condition.
Thank you, board. I just wanted,
Yep.
it just frustrates me. I work with you guys hard, you know, to get stuff done, and you know the permits I have, you know, that's the point. But I will furnish the rest of them, you know.
Yeah, we got one more comment.
Steve Beckton. Steve?
Good evening, everybody. Steve Beck, 20 Rickman Road, Plaistow. I just want to go back, you know, look, I understand 125 development is trying to run a business. I get it. But Tom, I have to take issue with you saying that, you know, the traffic over the pipeline is, you know, just on site when you had a contract with DW White to sell product out of that site that you were running 75 trucks a night in the middle of the night. And if it wasn't, you know, you called us slanderous, but if it wasn't for public oversight like us, this was happening in the middle of the night, disrupting, you know, noise pollution, running 75 trucks, not just 10 wheelers, big trucks, running gravel in and out of it. If it wasn't for public oversight, you still would be doing that today. So, you know, listen, I get trying to run a business, but you had to know up front that was not going to fly, running gravel out of there at the volume you were doing in the middle of the night.
Go
I
ahead.
don't want to cut off any public comment, but I would suggest we try to stay on topic with the compliance hearing, which is
Right.
what we're focusing on, and we reopened
Right.
public comments.
Okay. Is there anything else with the compliance hearing? Public? No? Okay. Okay.
I guess all I want to say is there's a reason why these things are.
Gotta go back up there. Sorry.
I just want to answer Tom, well, you know, there's a reason why these questions, these things keep coming up, because stuff was happening, you know, I've been here since 2023. Things were happening over there that weren't supposed to be happening over there. So we had a cease and desist letter that was sent out. When was that? In the beginning of 2024 for rock crushing that wasn't supposed to be happening there. So this is why these questions keep coming up, and this is why, you know, there's a history that we're trying to make sure it doesn't happen again.
It was a mistake of the town. We thought we were doing rock crushing road permit, we had that.
They provided the is it AOC after that one, once we gave that to them, then they gave us their permit, proved it, and then that was that.
That machine is allowed in Rockingham County, we'll have to do 2-day notice, we can put it right where we want.
Yep.
As long as we own the land. That's the deal. It doesn't go anywhere else.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, it can go and rental someone else's, that's something different, but we don't. We're building the project, we're going through.
Yeah,
We have materials that we don't need, it goes out.
well, this was happening before the approval, so.
It happens.
But anyway, I'm just, this
10
is,
years pre-came, there's like, we'll look at pictures.
yeah.
You can go see overhead views, you can see it 10 years ago. This town has been out there, code enforcement, it goes back. 2012 is when I bought the machine. It's been pounding ever since.
All right, well, I'm just saying that this is
But
why
it's,
these
but it's
questions
leaving
keep
you,
coming up.
be happy.
Yeah, I'm happy, but it's gonna be going to other neighbors who want to.
Yeah, I know. You're all set.
Right.
Okay.
And as a board, we understand about, like, when they talk about setting hours for businesses, even though you're doing it sometimes, like we talked about the heavy trucking and stuff like that, starting too early, that we addressed, yes.
Okay. So now we
So
go.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve the waiver with
So the amendment to the compliance
Amendment to the
hearing,
compliance
the
hearing.
amendment for the compliance, and what was the things again, Jen?
that the applicant shall notify the natural gas pipe the natural gas transmission pipeline operator of all proposed activity within 1,000 feet of the pipeline per the requirements of RSA 674-75.
Thank you.
Second.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. So,
Still here. Thank you, folks.
so one's all set now,
Yep,
two's all set now.
yep.
Good.
So the third thing that came in today, but we had alluded to at the last meeting, was the fact that your current site plan approval for 27-3 of the two
Yep.
sites we just were actually talking about was set to expire on the 25th of this month.
Right.
And because of a few things that are still ongoing, the need of an extension. In particular, to be honest, it's the DOT permit, ultimately.
Right.
But
Right, so we submitted a letter today requesting the extension, a one-year extension. Though the plan's been recorded, there are still some, as Jen points out, conditions that are up in the air, particularly in terms of the square footage that we can actually build under the current road configuration, and/or whether we'll be required to change that configuration to satisfy DOT. So even though we're on record and under construction, it makes sense to get an extension for an additional year so that we can hopefully get to a point where we can completely finalize the plan and not need any further extensions. Obviously, we're under construction, we're not delaying, we're not trying to avoid any changes in the town's ordinances or regulations. But as you folks know, as Tommy and I know, these projects take a long time. And while it's moving ahead, it's not something that gets completed in a matter of months.
Do you think a year, we need that much time, or do you, or is that
I mean, I think within a
leaving
year, we
DOT
should be at a point where we can have agree that the plan is final and what's on record, is not subject to additional conditions. I think we'll actually know from DOT what they want within the next week or two, and that will be a big piece of it. And then that may involve coming back here to show you something different, or it may not. We also need to wrestle with, as we go over the pipeline, what we're going to provide on that, and whether we can get Unitil on board, or whether we need to request something different on that. So there's a couple of issues that are out there. I think they can get resolved in a year. That's certainly our hope.
In a year is the maximum we
a
can
year
allow.
is the max.
Can I ask a question? Is a year a normal thing, or is it usually 6 months and then come back in 6 months and see, do you need another 6 months?
I mean, the board on a variety of projects has done 6 months before. You have done a year. I think the only benefit of 6 months is that we're going to hear an update basically 6 months from now.
Okay.
But if it's not going to make a real difference in your opinion, like if you would just give them another 6 months at that point, it might not be worth everybody's time.
Sounds like we're gonna hear updates before the year anyway.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound that way.
I mean, yeah, where we're actively under construction, it seems to me that a year makes sense. It's not something where you're waiting to see if we're going to move forward and kind of want to, keep us going or get rid of us. We're obviously moving forward. We need to button these things up as
And not only that, but we have a bond in place that if he did stop, that we would be able to
Yep.
take care of it. So I am going to make a motion to grant the one-year extension through to August 25th, 2027.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, folks. Thank you. Won't see you.
Oh, we might see him. Almost a regular by now.
So, one second. Tom and Ann, you want to explain to Ann what you told me about that person with the business?
Yeah, so JAD, we're building one, we're gonna start the process with them, and then see what we end up if they can sell it. So we're gonna start with planning, then probably have to go to zoning, and then back to planning if we get favorable in zoning. That's what's happening.
That's the person that's been with all the traffic that went down, that wasn't supposed to be doing retail. Yeah.
We asked them to stop Sundays today, so, not just do anything on Sundays.
straighten all this out.
So we're working on that for you guys in the traffic, all right?
I think you have it. Do you?
Okay, so we can continue?
Yeah.
Jen, yep.
Just, I don't think we'll probably get into it this evening, but at the last meeting, I had handed out, or you got copies of the conditional use permit for the groundwater ordinance. A little bit more of an intense form. I think let's plan to maybe talk through it a little bit at the next meeting. I think the two applications we'll hear won't take the entire meeting. We'll have a little bit of time at the end.
More time, sure. Okay, so we'll do that. Meeting minutes.
Thank you, board.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
So, motion to accept the minutes for July 28th, 2026 meeting.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Minutes are accepted. Sam was here.
Quick question for Bill. NEPA. We should be getting a NEPA report for the board to approve,
Yes,
hopefully by the next meeting.
ideally. I know right now Paul is working on an awful lot of the 125 stuff, trying to rectify a lot of those questions. Everything else, to my knowledge, outside of that, has been squared, to my knowledge.
So, and this is the point that I'm making, so these other accounts, some of these people that have come before the board, we've approved it for their businesses and whatever. So if there's money left in, that is supposed to be brought to us, what was paid to them for us to approve. And then also, once that's said and done, within a said, required time.
Offhand, I don't remember the time, but if they've met all of their conditions of approval, the NEPA accounts.
Needs to be returned to
Yeah,
them.
whatever is left.
Which means that has to come to the board so that we approve it, so that that can go to the treasurer and she can release that money and cut a check back to those people so that they get their money, okay?
So we're holding other people's money.
Yeah.
You certainly have a couple of active projects. Offhand, there might be one or two that's at the point where you probably could release the money that hasn't been done yet.
Right. But just so, that's something Bill's gotta start, something new he's gotta learn.
Does anybody else have anything else for other business? Look at that, 8 o'clock, right on the nose.
Oh, good job.
Meeting
good.
adjourned.
You planned it that way.
Oh, it's actually 7:58, right?
Oh, no. You let me down.